Okay. So I'm going to come back. Okay.
Okay.
So drawings are all plus minuses. Expenses are all plus minuses, and assets is always plus minus. These over here are always the opposite, so they're minus pluses. So capital is minus plus, liability is minus plus, and revenue is minus plus. So the pluses and minuses mean that the account either increases or decreases with that transaction. Okay? So I always have this like readily available so that I know how to create my journal entries.
Okay.
So in this particular case, the biggest thing you need to do is figure out what accounts are going to be impacted. So when I do this, I don't necessarily look at like the required 1, required 2, required 3, or 4. I always create my 2 tables first. Because once I have my 2 tables, everything else kind of makes sense. Like I can make my journal entries a lot easier. It just flows a lot better once my 2 tables are created. So So 3 is the journal entry that you need. So our first one, our entries that we're gonna, our tables that we're gonna impact is going to be salaries expense, and all this money. So my guess is gonna be accounts payable. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So we're gonna expense some salaries, and we know we owe it. So it's either gonna be AP or salaries payable, one or the other. All right, so then I create my T table. I decide whether or not it's a plus minus or a minus plus. So since salaries expenses an expense account, it's gonna be a plus minus. AP is a liability account, so it's gonna be minus plus. So then I ask myself, okay, am I supposed to show more salary expense or less salary expense? So I want to show more because I'm saying that my employees earned an additional $1,200. So I want to put $1,200 on my books to show that I increased my salaries expense by that amount. I'm going to use the plus sign. So I'm going to add $1,200. My AP is going to go up by $1,200 also because previously I didn't owe anybody. And now I owe them $1,200. So I need to increase my AP by $1,200. I'm going to put the $1,200 over here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So now, sorry, this is a debit, this is a credit, this is a debit, this is a credit. So now my debit is my credits. And I know my entry is right. So then I want to go over to the problem, and it looks like it's on round 3. And I want to create my journal entry. So my debit always goes first in the journal entry, so it's going to be salaries expense. Do you see where that is?
Huh?
Do you see what I'm talking about when I say required 3?
Are you talking about the problem with the book?
Yeah, let me go there.
Are you listening to my background?
Oh, you know what? Yes.
Oh.
Can you see a video of me also?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see something.
Are you able to see me?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
But I'm gonna figure out how to make my video show. I guess I don't know how to do it. Okay, I don't know how to do it. I thought that was a way to turn my computer around so you could see the other side, but clearly that is not the case.
You said you can't see me?
Oh, no, I can't see you, but it's okay. I just want to show you where I'm at on the problem so that you can kind of follow.
I thought you saw my daughter earlier because you waved when she waved.
No, I can hear her.
Oh,
It just happened to be at the same time.
okay.
Okay, so new share, and I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so under required 3, that journal entry that that T table we just made, so then it needs to go here. So the problem is we did a debit to salaries expense, and we did a credit to, I think, let me see if wages payable is an option. So wages pay, okay, salaries payable is an option. So we're gonna do salaries payable. And the amount is $1,200.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, let me check my work because I like to just make sure.
I know a lot of times I get the two mixed up. I'll put them in the wrong slots.
The credit and debit.
Salaries, expense, or in the liability. I will switch them up sometimes.
And what'll help you do it correctly is just knowing so that is A. As of December 31st, employees had earned $200 of unpaid and unreported salaries. The next payday is January 4th, at which time $1,500 of salaries will be paid. December 31st, they earned $1,200. So here's salaries expense. Oh, this is the wrong area. Sorry. Hold on. I guess it must be 2 different areas for the journal entry. Okay, here it is. Goes in this section. Okay, so does that make sense now? So now we're on the same page. So now my salaries expense is a debit, my salaries payable is a credit. And how you will know if you are putting it in the right place is by knowing this part. Is by knowing this.
Okay.
And instead of AP, this was actually salaries payable. Okay. So you'll know that salaries expense increases on the debit side because all expenses increase on the debit side.
Okay.
All right. So the next problem says the cost of supplies still available at December 31st, 2017 is $3,000. All right. So when we think about this problem, so this one is a little bit more difficult because you need to know how much supplies was there already.
Okay.
In order to do an adjustment, you got to know what the balance was before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at this problem, then it looks like if I go to the partial worksheet, my supplies balance is $6,500. Do you see that?
You said 65. Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So if the balance was $6,500 before, and the problem tells us that the cost of supplies still available at December 31st, 2017 is $3,000, I need to make an entry to make it $3,000. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So in order to do that, I need to decrease supplies by $3,500.
All right. So you put the.
So if we go back to my whiteboard, I know my accounts that I'm going to do is supplies expense and supplies. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So supplies expense is an expense account. So it's a plus minus. Supplies is an asset account. So it's a plus minus also. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So do I want to show more supplies expense or less supplies expense?
Less.
I want to show less supplies, but I want to show more supplies expense.
Okay.
Supplies expense represents like what we used. So
Okay.
if the balance and what we used was zero before, I want to show it as $3,500 now. I want to show that we used $3,500 worth of expenses. So it's going to go from 0 to 3,500. So that means I need to put the 3,500 on this side. Now the supplies account balance, if it was 6,500 before, and I wanted to show 3,000, am I increasing or decreasing that balance?
Decreasing.
Decreasing. So I'm gonna put the 3,500 on this side, on the minus side. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So my debit? This is a debit. This is a credit. This is a debit. This is a credit. So my debit equals my credit. So I know my journal entry is right.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So now I got to create my journal entry. All right. So in that particular problem, we're going to go to required 2. All right. So we had, what was our debit? Supplies expense was our debit, right?
Okay.
And that was $3,500. Why did you say 3,000? Huh?
I didn't hear you.
I said, do you know why it doesn't say 3,000?
No.
So 3,000 is what we want the balance to be. And the balance was previously 6,500. So if it's already 6,500 and we want it to be 3,000, we have to make an adjustment of 3,500.
Okay.
Okay. So let's check it to make sure we're right. Yep. So we're good to go on that one. So now we're gonna get the next one. All right. The next one says the notes payable requires an interest payment to be made every 3 months. The amount of unrecorded accrued interest at December 31st, 2017 is $18.75. The next interest payment at an amount of $22.50 is due on January the 15th, 2018. So the last sentence really doesn't mean anything. We really just need the very first sentence. And you just need to know that we have to record interest payment, interest expense of $1,875. Okay. So one of our accounts is going to be interest expense, and the other one is going to be notes payable. So they're using interest payable. Okay. So instead of notes payable, they're using interest payable. Does that confuse you?
How'd you get that?
Because I went and did it myself to make sure to see what they use. The reason why I originally said notes payable is because they had notes payable in the problem. But if it don't work or what you see, just choose something else that's closely related as long as it's payable. And then you check my work to see if it works or not.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I did. All right. So we're going to do interest expense and interest payable. Okay. So since this is an expense account, is this going to be a plus minus or a minus plus?
Interest. Minus plus?
It's a plus minus because it's an expense. All of the expenses are going to be plus minus. So this is actually something I would suggest you write it down and have it with you at all times.
Okay, yeah, I had went ahead and
yeah, that way you don't even got to guess. So all the expenses are plus minuses. All right, and then the interest payable is a liability account. So are liabilities plus minuses or minus pluses?
Minus pluses.
Correct. So this is going to be a minus plus. All right. So then I got to ask myself, the question says that I need to record an interest payment of $1,875. Okay. So if I need to record an interest payment, then my interest expense account, it was zero before. So how much do I need to show in interest now?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So if I didn't have any interest recorded before, but I need to show that I have interest expenses now, does my account balance go up or down?
I'm gonna go
Exactly what you think. If it's zero before, I need it to be 1875 now, up or down?
going up.
Yep. All right. So my liability account, I didn't have any interest payable before, but I needed to show that I now owe somebody $1,875. Does that account balance go up or down?
It's going down.
It's going up. So
You say you owe. Okay.
yes, you owe them, but the balance has to go from 0 to 1875 because that particular line represents the dollar amount that you owe somebody.
Okay.
So if it represents the amount that you owe somebody, then it's going to go from 0 to 1875. So it shows, hey, I owe somebody $1,875. When you look at a trial balance, there is no pluses or minuses. It's either a debit or a credit.
Okay.
I mean, there's no minuses, sorry. It's all just regular numbers. There's no negative numbers or anything. So and another thing that would have told me that is this is always a debit, this is always a credit. The left-hand side is always a debit, the right-hand side is always a credit. If my debit is 1875, I know in order for this to be correct, my credit has to be 1875. Because my debits must always equal my credits. So I know I have to put this 1875 here. Okay?
Okay.
So now I can go back and create my journal entry. And we got to remember that interest expense goes first because it's a debit. So let me go back. All right, so view transaction list. We're going to do this one. And we had interest expense of 1875. And we had interest payable. Remember what what payables are? Payables represent the amount of money that we owe people.
Yes.
Okay. So 1875 goes there. So then I'm gonna check my work because I just like to know after each one if I did it right or wrong. All right, so we got that one right. So we can just go on to the next one. So the next one says analysis of the unearned member fees account shows that 5,800 remaining unearned at December 31st, 2017. Okay. So if I want to show that the amount of unearned member fees is $5,800, that means I need to know what type of adjustment to make in order to make it $1,500. Well, in order for me to know how to get it to 5,800, I need to know what the balance is now. So in order to do that, I need to look at required one. Remember, it's the same thing we did on the supplies.
Okay.
So let's look at our earner. Okay, so how much is our unearned member fees?
15,000.
15,000. So I gotta get my calculator out for that because my brain ain't that slick for real. Okay, so I got my calculator. All right, so my calculator says we wanted to be 5,800. Okay, so we wanted to be 5,800 and it's currently 15,000. So I'm gonna do 15,000 minus 5,800. So my interest is gonna be for $9,200 because 15,000 minus 9,200 is gonna leave us 5,800. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. So I gotta remember that my entry is for $9,200. So I'm gonna go back to my whiteboard. As soon as I find it. All right, so this next entry is gonna be, what was it called? Unearned member fees. So we're gonna call it UMF. Okay, so can you guess what the offset to this account is going to be? And what I would do is I would look at what my available options are. So unarmed member fees means that so this is a liability. Okay, so the offset is member fees earned. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And how I knew it was a liability is because it's sitting with all the other payables. See how you got interest payable, salaries payable. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So interest payable, salaries payable, then notes payable. So unearned member fees, that's kind of like a payable. So that's going to be in the same type of direction as the payables. Okay. So
Okay.
even if I didn't know that there was a liability, the trial balance kind of helped me figure out, okay, well, the increase must be on the credit side because all of these kind of look the same way. And then member fees earned, this is going to be like revenue. This is revenue. And it's also going to be a minus plus. Like all of these right here are minus plus type accounts. And revenue is a minus plus also. So I'm going to go back to my whiteboard. And it's member fees earned. So this one is going to be member fees earned. Okay. So this is the liability, so it's going to be a minus plus. And this is the revenue, so it's also going to be a minus plus. All right.
Okay.
So the balance before was 15,000, right? And we want the new balance to be 5,800. So did that account go up or go down?
It went down.
It did. So we want to put it on the minus side. So I think our number was 9,200. Make sense?
Yes.
And MFE is a revenue account. Do we want our revenue account to go up or go down?
Up.
Yep. Because we didn't show the revenue before, and now we want it to show. So it's going to go from 0 to 9,200. So we're going to put the 9,200 on this side. And now this is a debit, this is a credit, this is a debit, this is a credit. Now my debits equal my credits. So my debit is going to be UMF, and my credit is going to be MFE. So let's do a journal entry. All right. So we're going to view transaction list. We're going to go to this next one. So unearned. I got too many computers. And this was 9,200. And this was member fees, I think. Yeah. And then that's 9,200. So I did the check my work. And that one is correct. Now the next one says, the next one is, in addition to the member fees included in the revenue account balance, the company has earned another 9,300 in unrecorded fees that will be collected on January the 1st, 2018. The company is also expected to collect $10,000 on that same day for new fees earned in 2018. Okay, so they're really just giving you too much information because we don't care about the stuff happening in January. So really, only thing we care about is making sure that we record the $9,300 because it's not recorded. So it's earned at the end of the year, but it just has not been recorded yet. I like to read it 18 times just to make sure I'm reading it correctly. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. All right. So my two accounts, because they're not gonna pay us until next year. Do you remember what account we used to show that somebody owes us money?
To be the asset?
It is an asset, and it's called accounts receivable.
Okay.
Okay. So we have AR, and then what we're doing here is trying to show that we earned some money. And I believe there's only one revenue account, but we could just put revenue right here. But it's called member fees earned. AR is an asset, so is it a plus minus or a minus plus?
Plus minus.
Revenue is a revenue, so is it a plus minus or a minus plus?
Minus plus.
Yep, perfect. All right, so we want to show that now these people owe us money. They didn't owe us before, but they owe us now. So does our account balance go up or go down?
It goes up.
Yep. So 9,300 is what they told us. And our revenue, we didn't have that, we didn't earn that money before, and now we've earned that money. So did our revenue account go up or go down?
It went up.
Yep. So my debit equals my credit. Make sense?
Yes.
And so then I just go to here and return the question. And then we just have one more. And then I can explain the trial balance, the worksheet. All right, so view transaction listing. We got all those done. We need 5. All right, so what was our debit? Accounts receivable.
What did you say?
I was trying to remember what our debit was.
9,300.
Yep, it was accounts receivable. And then our revenue was the offset, and that was for 9,300. And then we're gonna check our work. All right. We did a great job. We did it correctly. And so we're gonna move on to the next one. Depreciation expense for the year is $15,000. So for that one, it's always going to be the same 2 accounts. One is going to be depreciation. The other one is going to be accumulated depreciation. Okay.
Okay.
Depreciation is an expense account, so it's a plus minus. Accumulated depreciation is a contra asset, so it's actually a minus plus. There's no logic. There's no logic, but it's the opposite of an asset because it goes underneath the regular assets and then offsets it. So our expense for this problem is 15,000. So does depreciation expense go up or down?
Up.
Yep. So 15,000. That says 150,000, but you know what I'm saying. And then accumulated depreciation also goes up. So that's going to be the other 15,000. Okay.
Okay.
Then we're going to go to our journal entry paper thingy. All right, we're going to do our last journal entry. Okay, depreciation expense was our debit, because debit always goes first when you're doing a journal entry. And I need to stop writing on this other computer. And then accumulated depreciation was our other account. It was our offset. So then we're going to check my work and see if we got it right. All right, we are good to go. So we've completed all of our journal entries. So now, after you do your journal entry, you start to make the adjustment to require one for the adjustment, okay? So later on, there'll be another section that allows you to add your closing entry. For now, in chapter 4, you add your adjustments to the column next to unadjusted trial balance. So unadjusted trial balance was the balance of all of these accounts throughout the month. And then when you do your adjustments at the end of the month, they're going to go into adjustments. So it's all these different accounts that we just worked on. Well, you kind of need to know, well, what have you touched? Have you affected any of these accounts? So I'm going to actually utilize our key table to help us out.
All right.
So salaries, expenses, we did something to it twice. We got, I wonder if I can change the color. Hold on. Ooh, I can. Okay, we got salaries expense. Oh, we only got one salary expense. Okay. So we got a debit of salary expense of $1,200. Okay.
Okay.
So then we're going to go over here. We're going to go to salaries expense. And we're going to do a debit here of $12,000. Oh, I got to turn it up. I don't remember that. All right, so salary expense, we got $12,000. And then, so we have a debit plus a debit equals a debit. So that's going to be $42,000. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know, this computer doesn't play no games. It just die. No warning, no nothing. Okay. All right, so let's check my work to see if we did that correctly. Okay, I like it. Did we have salary expense at one time?
What?
Oh, that's 1,200, not 12,000. Okay. Well, excuse me.
She looks like she's relieved. She can hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Did you finish your homework?
I didn't have homework.
What?
Not today.
For the first time.
I think Mom has some homework she can share with you.
Oh yeah. Wish she could do it for me.
No? That's not a good plan?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, first.
$21,200.
Sorry, sleep.
You see what I did wrong? I put 12,000 instead of 1,200.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it
So now
now.
I put the 1,200 back, and so now I got my green mark. So I know I'm doing it correctly. All right. So let's go back to. Okay, I don't know how that just happened. Oh, hi Angie. Because Angie joined. Okay, so let me get to. Here it is. So I'm back at my whiteboard. Okay, so we're done with salaries expense. We got that one, great. And next we could do accounts payable, salaries payable, because that's the only one like it. So we're gonna do a credit of $1,200 to accounts payable. I mean, it's gonna be salaries payable. So salaries payable, we're gonna adjust it as a credit. That makes sense?
Yes.
So we have a credit of 1,200. So now this is 1,200 because there wasn't a balance in there before. You see that? There was no balance. We're gonna, oh, hold on. I'll put it as a debit, and that would be wrong. Because if it's a credit, if it starts off as a credit, it's gonna end as a credit. Okay?
Okay.
That's that one. So then the next one, you're gonna have to remember this one for me. So the next one we had was supplies expense and supplies. So our debit was 3,500 for supplies expense, okay?
Okay.
So let's get back over here. So we had supplies expense as a debit. What was my dollar amount?
3,500.
3,500. And then what was my credit?
Are we looking at this number here?
I can't remember what my other two table was. I just forgot that there. Oh, supplies. Right?
Yeah.
So it was a credit for supplies of 3,500. So what's my balance in supplies now?
It should be. Are we adding these?
You are going to.
Subtract, so should it be 3,000?
So the reason why is because it started off as a debit. See how the 6,500 is a debit?
Yeah.
And you see how
Aren't those supposed to be subtracted?
Yep. So you're gonna subtract it.
3,000.
Yes. So should I put it on the debit side or the credit side?
Credit.
Nope. It's gonna go on the debit side because the balance is still a debit. Because you had 6,500 as a debit, 3,500 as a credit, but you're still left with $3,000 as a debit.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
And remember, in the original problem, that's what they wanted. The cost of supplies left at the end of the year is $3,000. So that means we did the entry correctly. Leave me alone. Let me know. All right. So we have our supplies expense of 3,500. So we had nothing in there before. We're gonna add 3,500, and so our balance is gonna be 3,500. Make sense?
Yes.
It's okay that that's not $3,000
Why is it okay?
because what they told us was the cost of supplies still available was 3,000, not the amount of supplies we used. Because we originally had 6,500, we had to use 3,500 in order to end up with 3,000.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
So if you think about it logically, it does. But if you don't know what you're doing, that 3,500 is going to confuse you because of that 3,000. You just got to think through it. All right. So the next one, they really gonna put this little 8 minutes up here for real. That's some haters.
What?
I only get 40 minutes to record, but I'm gonna send you the video so you can have it.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one is interest expense and interest payable. And it's 1875 as a debit to interest expense. All right, so we have interest expense as a debit of 1875. And then we have interest payable as a credit of 1875. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so you see how there's no negative number on here?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a credit. So this balance is going to be 1875. And then this balance is going to be what?
Should be 56.25 minus 1875.
It's not going to be minus. And the reason why it's not going to be minus is because they're both debits.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Huh?
I can't see it anymore.
I know something is going wrong. Somehow I got photos and I don't know what that means. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
I see it.
So they're
Debit.
both debits. So since they're both debits, you're gonna add them together to come up with your new debit. And I don't know what this thing. So it's 1875 plus, what am I adding?
Yes, Addie.
What is it? 56.
You're asking me the answer? Oh,
It's 7,500.
okay.
So I'm gonna have a debit of 7,500 because it's a debit plus a debit equals 7,500. All right. So then, hi, honey. How are you?
Cool.
Cool.
You're doing good. What are you eating?
Penny.
All right. So our next one is going to be the unearned sum fees and the actual fees. So our debit was 9,200 for UMF and the credit for MFE for the same amount. So we have, did I say UMF? Okay. So it's going to be a debit of $9,200. And then our credit was in the actual fees of $9,200. So 92 plus 42 is 51. Is that right?
Wait out. I'll be there in a second.
So it was 42,000 plus 9,200 was 51,200. Okay. And so this was a credit in unearned member fees. And then we have a debit. So it's going to be a subtraction.
Okay.
But the balance is higher in the credit. So it's going to stay a credit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So 15,000 minus 9,200 is 5,800, which is what they told us it was supposed to be. All right. Our next one. So these are done. Is AR and the revenue one. So we had accounts receivable. It went up by $9,300. And then our revenue, so that means the balance is going to be 9,300 because it was 0 before and it's 9,300 now. And then our revenue went up. Okay, so we got two revenue ones. So it's actually going to be 9,200 plus 9,300. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Because if we already had the 9,200, ooh, 9,200 plus 9,300 equals 185, no, 18,500. So then that means that this changes also. So I'm gonna add the 42,000 to that one. And it's gonna be $60,500. Make sense?
Yes, because you have to subtract those two, right? Oh, no, you have to add those two.
Yep, they're both credits.
Right.
So one credit plus another credit is a bigger credit. They're gonna close us down in 2 minutes.
Okay.
But I will be back on here tomorrow. If it's just you and I again, then I'll go ahead and finish this out.
Is it going to be early morning tomorrow?
I can't remember.
I think it is because this is the only late time you have.
You work tomorrow?
Yep.
What time do you work tomorrow?
7:15 to 3:45.
You have my cell phone number?
Yeah, I saw it on the email.
Okay, so text me when you're ready, and then me and you can finish this tomorrow then.
Okay.
So let me just go back. So then I'm going to add these two to our trial balance that we already created. That way you can have it on the video. And then tomorrow we'll pick up on let me see what required. Okay, so 3 is gonna be those closing entries.
Okay.
So we'll do the closing entries and we'll do the I don't know what this is. I don't know what this last one is. But either way, we'll follow up on required 3 and 4 tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
No problem. I'll send you a copy of this video.
All right.
All right. I don't know how to do it. I'm gonna finish these last two out though.